Greetings and salutations, my fellow Americans. I am Robert Vincent Brannum. I am a retired veteran. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, former President Donald Trump loves to tell stories about other people. Most often they are not true or based on faulty conspiracy theories. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, this is my story about Donald Trump, which I believe to be true. Donald Trump is an impostor, daring you to believe what he knows not to be true. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, Donald Trump truly does not believe in himself. Consider this. Donald Trump is afraid of success for himself and for others. Donald Trump cheated on his first wife with his second wife, cheated on his second wife with his third wife, cheated on his third wife with a porn star and a Playboy bunny. Donald Trump believes he has high star appeal to empower him to grab women by their private body parts at his will and for his pleasure. Donald Trump thinks he can alter history by speaking lies and misinformation. Donald Trump does not trust anyone who tells him the truth because Donald Trump is afraid to be honest even to himself. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, the story and stories of Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are disreputable accounts of lies, distortions, misinformation, and fantasies told through prisms and social media posts of racism, bigotry, sexism, vulgarity, and violence. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, Donald Trump and extreme far right-wing MAGA Republicans are imposters to Christianity, intellectual cowards to political compassion, and mental viruses to the spirits of democracy, justice, equality, and freedom. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, Donald Trump and extreme far right-wing MAGA Republicans dare you to trust the truth about their collective hostility to the Constitution. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, to make America great again requires people grounded in the truth, not imposters with deceit. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, to make America great again calls for people to trust not only one another but also himself or herself. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, to make America great again requires truth and believing in the truth. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, the real story of Donald Trump from his own spoken words and actions is Donald Trump is a liar, a rapist, a racist, a bigot, a supporter of white supremacy, sexually assaulting women, vulgarity, and violence. The story of Donald Trump is one of dishonesty. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, if you really want to make America great again, listen to and tell the story of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Listen to and tell the story of how they led America through a pandemic and economic despair and shepherd America through a COVID-19 recovery, lower inflation, lower interest rates, lower unemployment, more jobs, higher wages, and increased American confidence toward the American dream. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, quote, "Not everyone can be famous, but everybody can be great because greatness is determined by service. You only need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love," end quote. My fellow Americans and my fellow veterans, like you, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are great because they serve America and all Americans with hearts full of grace and souls generated by love. Thank you.